Alrighty, folks. Hello, and welcome everyone. Let me pop over here so y'all can see me. Let's get this going. Hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Adobe Live. My name is VooDoo Val, and I am going to be your host this morning for a Photoshop typography challenge. I'm so excited about this challenge. This is going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one, folks. Thank you all for joining me. I see so many familiar faces in the live chat. Welcome in. I see Sam Peterson, the one and only. Good to see you, Sam. I saw Steve Festus Casaboom, the man with the name. Ted, welcome in. Tim, Paula, Valder, Anki, Biola, Bliss, Umacorn, Colleen, Mercurial. Thank you all so much for joining me. It's good to see you. We're going to dive straight into our challenge for the day, but before we get started, please remember to check the description below. There you can find all of the links and resources and things you need to work along with me today. I've created a wonderful starter file for you folks, which I am going to show you right now. So this is what we've got for our challenge. It says Photoshop Typography Challenge. Give your lettering some dimension. Use the mixer brush to create hand-drawn 3D lettering. So we're doing this challenge again in honor of the 36 days of type. I hope that if you work with me today, you will post your work in the Discord and also post social media with the 36 days of type hashtag, which we will get into the chat for you. So what are we going to be doing today? There's a lot of cool elements in this challenge starter file. You can see we've got something here called the brush sample, which is this nice little polygon here of color. We've got kind of a sample of the shape here with a really interesting kind of 3D brush swipe going through it, which is a lot of what we're going to be getting in today. And then we have our handy dandy colors, which if you would like a smoother, more effortless workflow while you are working today, you can jump into the libraries and add your colors. Trying to encourage all of you folks to do this because it is very quick, very easy. If you select a tool such as the brush tool that has capability of sampling a color, you can come in, sample a color, and then if you press the plus button at the bottom of your libraries here, you can add a foreground color, and you can go down the line and add all of them into your libraries just like this, so that if you place an item or need to change the color of a font or change the color of your brush really quickly, all you have to do is just tap on it as if you have a painter's palette of sorts. So very easy, very quick. But what we're going to be doing today, I'm going to go ahead and hit F to enter into my second view of Photoshop so I can kind of move my canvas around freely here. What we're going to be doing today is mixing fonts and type with the creation of this interesting little loopy 3D swipe here, and I'm going to show all of you folks how to do that. So I'm going to go ahead real quick. I am going to hold shift and click my colors layer here while I am originally selected on my brush sample, and I'm going to go ahead and group that just so that I have all of those together in a group, because I'm going to refer to these just the once, and then we're going to dive into kind of creating our own assets from then on. And I'm just going to call this assets, just to keep our layers organized over here. And what we're going to do is we're going to start experimenting with some type first off. So I'm going to go ahead and hide this. I'm going to hide my info. I'm going to hit T on my keyboard and go ahead and tap here. It should give me some lorem ipsum. And I'm going to write something out. I think what I might do is choose somebody from the live chat. I think I'm going to choose Anki. How about Anki? And I am, with caps locks on, I'm going to just write Anki's name. Boom. There we go. Anki. You are in the spotlight this morning. So I'm going to Control T or Command T if you're working on a Mac and just kind of make this a larger font. You can also come up to the top here and make it larger just by changing the font point. And that is also a very accurate way to do this, especially if you don't want like an odd size like this, like 191.89. You could round this out to 192 or whatever you want. I'm not too terribly worried about it, just because I'm not working on a project right now that needs a perfect point size for my font, so I'm good with just free transforming. And I'm going to change the weight of this. So I will highlight all of this just by clicking it, and I'm going to come in and set this to a medium, okay? You are very welcome, Anki. All right, and I think the last thing I'm going to do is with my text layer selected, as I mentioned before, I'm going to change this to a brighter color. And if I want to do that, all I have to do is just click one of my colors in my libraries here, so you can see how quick and easy that really is to do. So I've got my type. Okay, here I've got my letters, got my words, and the next thing I'm going to do is hide my libraries, and we are going to create kind of an interesting flourish to spice this name up. Anki, you are a very cool person. We love to see you in here, but we're going to make you even fancier today. So in my assets, I'm going to go ahead and unhide my assets, and I'll bring that up above my Anki layer. And I am going to make a flourish like this by sampling this interesting collection of airbrushed colors that I have here in the center. So I'm going to make sure I'm selected on this brush sample, and I am going to hit B on my keyboard to access my brush, but I'm going to right click the actual brush tool to open my kind of drop down menu here, and I'm going to select mixer brush tool. Okay, now right now with the mixer brush I have this whitish color, this off-white color selected, so if I paint, it just paints with white, but we want to paint with this gradient here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Alt to sample a color, and I'm just going to click right in the center here of all of these colors. And as you can see, if you look up here in the corner, it sampled a color just like your regular brush would sample, but you can see it actually sampled with all of the gradients that are there. Now, if you sample a color and it's not showing up, it's not changing. So if I come out here to sample this green color, you can see that it just blinks out to sample nothing. It's because I'm only sampling what is upon the actual layer I'm on. With the regular brush tool, you can sample a color from anywhere on your canvas. Anywhere there's a color beneath your brush, it will sample that color. But the mixer brush is going to sample from the element that is on that actual layer. So we're going to hit Alt and we're going to sample one last time. So I have that nice gradient going there. We'll go ahead and collapse our assets group. We will hide it. And then I'm going to make my brush much smaller here on a new layer. So Control Shift in or Command Shift in for a new layer if you're using a Mac. And I'm going to use my bracket keys to make my brush a little bit smaller. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint with that gradient. So just a little bit of this, okay? As you can see, it's very smooth. I'm using a stylus here. I am using a stylus, but you can use a mask or a mask. You can use a mouse because we are just going to be. If you wanted to be a little bit fancier, you can. But I'm, if I want to do with my mouse, I can. If I want to make sure it's all a little more dramatic, that one is done with a mouse. Now, we want to kind of make this flourish look as if it is both in front and behind some of the elements of this font. So what I'm going to do first off is I'm going to hit V on my keyboard to use the Move tool, and I'm going to bump this over here just because I want it to be a little bit past this in portion here. And we're going to use masks to kind of mask both in front of and behind. And I'm going to go here with this little button down at the bottom of my layers panel. It's just a little white rectangle with a black dot in it, and say add layer mask. And then making sure I have this layer mask selected, I am going to be able to paint either in black or in white to add and subtract from what is on my layer here. And to make this very accurate, similar to how we've done some of our other challenges in this set, is instead of trying to freehand this, because I could freehand this, honestly, if I hit B on my keyboard and make sure I'm selected on my regular brush tool and selected with black, because black is the color that will subtract from my mask, I could come in here very easily. Oops, let's make sure that my brush mode is on normal and make sure I have a hard pressure brush. I could come in here and I could freehand, you know, pretty easily. And if I really wanted to get in here to these fine details, I feel confident that I could actually get pretty accurate with how I'm adding and subtracting. But that's because I have a stylus, and I always like, in any of these challenges that I do, I'll show you things that I do with the stylus, but I know that not everybody has one, so I want to show you all other alternative methods in case you are just using your mouse or a trackpad. So the way that we are going to do this is I'm going to hold Control, and I'm just going to click the T on our text layer. And you can see that selects everything that is on the text layer, and then still selected here on our flourish layer, and making sure that we're selected on our mask. Now I can paint and I can be as messy as I want with a mouse, and it will always be within the proper borders of our project here. So I am going to decide which portions of this I want in front of and which portions I want behind. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to put this behind. So I'm just going to scribble in here and remove that. We're going to let this go over the top. We're going to put this behind the in at the top there and scribble that in. This part right here is going to come over. We'll send this under, just kind of alternating back and forth. Okay, this will go over, this part will go under. We'll let this go over, this will go under. Okay, and then over, and then under, and then over, and then under. Boom. I get that close right there. I think maybe I would probably do this a little bit wider next time so that I don't have to feel like I do need to freehand over the top of that where they overlap there within my selection. Okay. And then this part will go over and this part will go under. All right, so now we've done that, and I'm going to go ahead and deselect. And now you can see we've got this really cool version of Anki's name with this cool flourish through it. Now, what else can we do with this, right? Because this is cool, this is all well and good, but we kind of want to be able to have maybe a little more mastery over our actual flourish. Again, some of you may not have a stylus to use to get kind of a nice smooth flourish, and some of you, even with the ability to kind of get the hang of doing a flourish like this with a mouse, some of you may find that it's still not quite as smooth as you want. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select with my flourish and hold Control and select Anki. And I want to kind of draw attention to this because before I held Shift and I selected one layer and then selected a bottommost layer, and that selects everything all in a row. But if you hold Control and do it, that means you can tap around and select individual layers all out of order if you want. Oops, I just actually, there we go. Also, by the way, I hit Control Z by accident there, and I undid some of my work here. If you know, Control Z or Command Z if you're working on a Mac is undo, but if you hold Control Shift Z, that's redo. Okay, we always talk about Control Undo, all right, but if you would like to redo something, if you go back too many times, you can do Control Shift or Command Shift Z, and that will redo things, which is what I just did there. So I'm gonna click my flourish layer, I'm going to hold Control and hit Anki, and then I'm not going to hit Anki, I'm going to select my Anki layer, and then I'm going to press Control or Command G just to group that together, and I'm gonna call that Anki. Boom. You're famous, Anki. There you go. So we're going to go ahead and what I might do is just convert this to a smart object. Boom, convert to smart object. And we are going to make that a little smaller, and we'll put that up in the corner here. We'll leave you on the screen, Anki, okay? We'll leave that right there. Rodney Davis in the chat saying, finally able to join live instead of replay. Well, it is wonderful to have you, Rodney. Thank you for joining me. So I'm actually going to peek at time real quick. All right. So just a quick recap of what we've done. We've used type to put in a name here. We've used masks and the mixer brush to create an interesting flourish that looks as if it's weaved in and out of the different elements of our letters. But we can also do this in reverse if we want. So if I wanted to create, so let me go ahead and press T on my keyboard to create a new text layer with my text tool. I'll tap, add some lorem ipsum. I'm going to use the letter V for Val here. We'll put a V in there. I'm going to, in my layers or my libraries, I'm going to go ahead and click this white color just to make it a little more visible. I'll zoom out, Control T or Command T. We're going to kind of bring out, make this V large here. All right. And I'm going to show you a couple more things, how you can like really make this your own. So first of all, I'm going to show you how I created that brush sample. We're going to make our own brush sample here so that you folks can create your own colors and all of that. All right. Now, technically what you could do is in our assets here, if I unhide this, you could come over to this brush sample. You could convert this to a smart object so that we're working non-destructively. So any changes you make to this, you can change back essentially. And you could Control U or Command U to open the hue and saturation panel, and you could transform this and just kind of drag this over and change it if you wanted. You could also go Control B to open up color balance, and you could kind of alter it this way if that's what you wanted to do. You could kind of change it up that way if you wanted to get some new colors. Hit OK. Keep in mind here we did convert this to smart objects, and this is why I did it, because I can hide all of my smart filters all at once here, or I can say, you know, I liked it before I added color balance, so I'll just hide the color balance. Or I wonder what it would look like with just color balance, so let's hide the hue and saturation. That actually looks pretty darn good right there. I might actually save that. But I'm going to show you how I made this myself. So I'm going to open my library so I have access to all my colors here. I'm going to grab a shape. This time we'll do it with an ellipse. I'm going to drag out a circle and hold shift to make that kind of a solid color or solid perfect circle. All right, we'll drag this over here. Gonna hit enter. And then with a clipping mask above this, Control Shift in to make a new layer. I will right click and create clipping mask, and then I'm going to hit B on my keyboard, making sure I'm on my regular brush tool. Now I will right click to open my brush panel, and I'm going to grab a soft round opacity brush here. I'll take caps locks off so I can see how big my brush is, use my brackets to increase the size. And what I will do is I will just select, you know, a darker color. I'm just going to tap, I'm just clicking with my mouse to kind of add some color in there. We'll add some of this bright color, boom, maybe some of this white color here, you know, so we got 3 colors going on in there. We might even add just a little bit darker of a shade towards the end here. And I'm just tapping and kind of creating some kind of interesting, you know, collection of colors here. All right. We might even add a little bit of that blue right there, just kind of doing whatever we want. Okay. So I've created this, and now I will select that clipping mask and that ellipse, and we will convert that to smart object. Boom. Now, if I come over here with my mixer brush, if I right click, select mixer brush, and I'm going to need to rasterize this layer. Go ahead and rasterize. When I hold Alt, I can tap in the center of this, and it will give me a color. Now, notice my brush is very small, so when I clicked here, all that brush kind of encompasses is that green color, so we got that green color. So what I'm going to need to do is make my brush larger and then hold Alt and sample, and you can see that gives me all of the colors. Okay, so it's whatever is within the borders of your brush here. I can hide that, or we'll just hide all of the assets together. And then I can come in on a new layer, Control Shift in, and I can do another little flourish here. Okay, so we'll do something like this, okay, and make it kind of go off the canvas a little bit. What I might do is make sure that I'm coming past my V here. And we might even, let's see if we can do, I'm going to do a couple of these. Maybe I'll make this a tiny bit smaller. I'm going to come, boom. We can just do something like that. All right, we'll do the same thing. Hold Control, click the text layer to select this, and then I could come in and mask. But maybe before I mask this, maybe I did my flourish and I don't particularly like 100% how it's looking. Maybe I need a little bit of something. Maybe I want to tweak this, but I don't want to use liquify or free transform warp or something like that. We can use the puppet warp tool. So with my layer selected here, we can come up here to edit, puppet warp, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave the density on normal, but you can change it to fewer points if you want, or you can change it to more points if you like. So I'm going to switch it to normal, and I'm going to add some points here. So I'm just going to click, we'll add a point there, just places where you're going to be able to grab this and alter it. And I'm going to add some good points around, boom. Okay, we'll add some here and here and here. And then what I can do, if I zoom out a little bit, is I can come in and maybe I want this lifted a little higher, and I can bump that a little higher. If I want a little more control, I can, add another point. Maybe I want this to be more dramatic, so I'm gonna, lift that up, and I can continue to add points and continue to move stuff around just to kind of get myself a more dynamic and smooth turn, so I can edit it however I want, and then all you have to do is hit enter. I did like it the way that I did it before, so I will Control Z and go back to the basics there. But that is another way that you can alter your the smoothness of your strokes here. So we'll go again, hold Control, select the color of our V over here. Actually, we need to make our mask first. So if you select first and then you make a mask, you are going to make the mask in the shape of your selection. So let's Control Z and Control D or Command D to deselect. We're going to make a mask first on this, then hold Control or Command and select the V, and then making sure we're selected here, we will come in. I'm going to make sure I select my regular brush tool here. We'll get me a kind of a sharp brush, and I'll come in and do the same thing, just kind of hiding certain elements here, which works for me. Control or Command D to deselect. So now I have this kind of overlapping, interesting swipe coming through. And if you'd like to add a last finishing touch, which I think we can do in our last few minutes here. Yeah, we definitely have enough time for this. If you'd like to add some last finishing touches, you can kind of explore some of the other elements in some of our previous challenges, if you like, and paint a little bit within your V here. So if I want to, I could either create a clipping mask here, which would work, Control or Command Shift in to create a new layer, and I could create clipping mask, hit B on my keyboard, we will select a soft round brush, set your blend mode, or your, not your blend mode, but your brush mode to dissolve, so you create your own kind of noise brush, and then I can come in and I can select some of my colors, and we can tap around and kind of color this in and give ourselves some new colors. You could also lock pixel transparency, but that would destroy the integrity of your text layer. So I could rasterize this if I wanted to rasterize that type, lock transparency, and then I can paint directly on this layer and it's not going to break the borders of my V if I wanted to. So another way you can do it. But what I might want to do is kind of combine some of our learnings from before. I'm going to, I think, color this in like a green color, totally. I think I am going to grab this darker color here, and I'm just going to tap right here, maybe with a smaller brush. I'm going to tap and put a shadow behind there so it looks like it, is creeping in with a shadow. We'll put a shadow behind here as well to kind of give it this idea, this look that there's like a shadow underneath where that overlaps. We will grab maybe this brighter color and kind of put some of this brighter jazzy shade up here on a portion of the V. We might even grab some more of this green and make the shadow a little smaller here. Maybe it doesn't have to be so dramatic. Okay. And then maybe we'll even grab, kind of fade that a little more. Maybe we'll even grab some of this light color and put that at the very top. So we've got this interesting color here. We can grab some of this, little of this, and kind of come over here and brighten that up there. And use some of our green to kind of fade just a little bit, just a tiny bit. I was using a stylus, but I'll come in here and I'll finish this up with my mouse just to kind of show you that you are capable of doing this this interesting transition and creation with a mouse. Grab some more of our tannish color here. Boom. We'll throw some of that in there. And then we'll round it off with kind of a brighter color. So we could do that. I might even make our shadows a little less harsh, you know, like maybe that's a pretty harsh dark color for our shadow, you know, so maybe we'll soften that up, maybe even with some of this, you know, so it's not so crazy. But that could be cool. That could be fun. So you can really take a letter and make it fun. If you folks are doing the 36 days of type, you can come in here and make a whole alphabet. That's very interesting. I am going to run out of time, so I do have to take off. I hope you have enjoyed this challenge. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, with another challenge. See you folks next time.